All right, as we're back talking about the apology tour, let's be very clear. This isn't a Kody Brown, Robyn Brown singularity. This is a team effort by Kody, Robyn, and TLC. And when we think about it, what does the apology tour do? It not only gives like the redemption arc for these two characters and a pathway for them to try to work their way into the hearts of the fan base. It's also there because it provides much needed content for this show. If you think about it, last week episode or the episode with Mary get on her leg of the apology tour was hands down the best episode of Sister Wives this season. Okay. And even the apology tour is the only thing that really happened during the course of the season that was even remotely interesting. So what I suggest and what I'm proffering is that the whole idea or concept of the apology tour isn't just a Kody Brown, Robyn Brown plan to try to remake their image so that they can try to appeal to characters. It's something that's being pushed forward by the network. So because they want to revitalize these characters, because they think that the show revolves around and requires these characters. And I'm also going to talk about not only what they're trying to do, but I also want to talk about what the necessary steps that TLC is taking in order to try to make this happen. So the first part of it is that it's about the content, baby. When it comes to when it comes to television shows, as well as YouTube videos or Twitch or Twitter, X, whatever, it's all about content. And essentially, TLC are high budget content creators. That's what they are. And this apology tour is essentially Kody Brown and Robyn Brown's high ticket social media reaction to things that are being said and proffered on social media, whether it's Reddit, YouTube, fan pages, Sun Magazine comment sections, People, ET comment sections, wherever. When Kody came out and made the assertion that he never loved these women, it discounted all of their experiences. It was humiliating for everybody involved. And so what he did was he looked at what people were saying about him and he took offense to, and he's using the apology tour to respond to those feelings. He's reacting to what people are reacting to when they watch Sister Wives. Now, one of the main moves that they're trying to do is they're trying to take the storyline and move it away from how bad Kody and Robyn are, how bad they are perceived to be on the show, right? So they want to treat it, in essence, like you would treat a medical emergency when it comes to this PR disaster. The first thing you do is you triage. During a medical emergency, you triage, you want to make assessments on how much damage has been done, how bad it is, what can be done, who can be saved, who can't, what can be saved, what can be salvaged, etc., etc. Right? Once you figure out the big damage, the big pain, the big issue, then you go about the business of trying to stabilize the patient. You try to stabilize the situation. You want to stop the bleeding. Now, in order to get for them to stop the bleeding, the main thing is they need the wives to stop talking about Kody and Robyn and how bad they were. They need the children to not come out and say that Kody and Robyn are bad parents and horrible people. They need the wives to stop referring to the relationship that they had and how much they invested into those relationships. They have to stop the bleeding. The third part is once you you figure out what it is, you stabilize the situation, then you can start the treatment. Then you can start to treat the issue. Now, what's the treatment that they're trying to achieve by doing the apology tour and everything else that they're doing? They're trying to humanize both Robyn and Kody to make them more sympathetic to us. And then they want to build upon those stories. That's when you can start telling the stories about the older daughter and her boyfriend Brody, and them trying to get into college and what they're going to do after work, and what they're going to eat for dinner, and if they like cupcakes over cookies. Then you can have those silly ass conversations. But before you can have those silly conversations, those silly interactions, you have to make sure that we actually like them. And by doing that, an extension of liking Kody and Robyn will like their kids and all that, and they can continue to make those checks, cash those payments, make payments on the house, and TLC keeps our subscription dollars and keeps us glued to the television. So that's part of what they want to do. So they want to triage, figure out what's wrong, they want to stabilize, and they want to treat. Now, part of that treatment, they have to salvage their reputations. All right. Because they're seen as villains on the show. They're seen as the big bad guys. You have to acknowledge some wrongdoing. Like, you can't just come in and be like, they're good guys now. It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You have to come back, and the villain has to acknowledge the wrong that they did in order for them to move past it. Hell, you even saw it in what was that kid's movie? Twilight. One of the vampire, I saw the first one. I didn't really keep up with the whole series, but the vampire basically told his love interest, the young lady, oh yeah, when I was younger, and about 100 years ago, when I first turned into a vampire, I was drinking blood off of everything, and I was attacking all kinds of folks, and I was a horrible person, terrible person. But I no longer do that. I eat deer now, and I'm trying to change my ways. Right. And that's what she said at 17. I'm going to be an old lady. That's why you got to bite me, turn me to a vampire. Horrible movie. But that's the whole thing. You have to move the storyline away from the things that you were doing that are wrong so that you can erase it and move past it. That's why Kody keeps talking about tossing luggage into the river. He's obsessed with the luggage floating down the river. He must have had some kind of catastrophe on a cruise ship or something. Maybe they lost his luggage. But the whole thing with salvaging it, you don't want to remind the viewers, or even worse, the new viewers who are coming to the show, you don't want to inform them of big problems, big issues, right? So what you do is you want to recognize the source of what the problem is. You got to recognize what the source of the problem. What's the source of the problem? Twofold: his ex-wives and his kids. Now, when it comes to the kids, you don't want to talk about the kids because the kids are innocents. They didn't ask to be here. They didn't volunteer to be here. They didn't knowingly or conscientiously decide to participate in this family. They were kind of born into it, and this whole situation was thrust upon them. And unlike Kody, because they didn't make a choice to do this, any reaction they have can be seen as, this is your responsibility, Kody, and their innocence in that responsibility. Now, how your relationships work out. But initial thought, the kids are innocent. So you don't want to talk about the kids and how the kids could potentially be wrong. So what do you have to do? You talk about the wives. You see, because the wives chose this. They decided to participate in this relationship. They were participants. So even if they did suffer, even if they were being mistreated, they were participants. They chose to do this. And so it helps to mitigate the circumstances for them. And I would even take it a step further. Not only can the situation be mitigated, but if you can twist it just right, you can actually justify some of Kody's actions. Like, for instance, when I said I never loved you, I didn't mean it. You could look at that and say, well, if that's the problem, that's the only problem, then what they're actually talking about is Kody was going through a divorce. He was being left. He's being separated. He was hurt. And he said something mean and nasty because he was hurt. And if you can dirty up the wives and make them seem like they were being mean and nasty to him, then maybe his response is actually justifiable. And that becomes a clever twist that I think TLC is trying to pass off on us. There's also the point where you try to reframe the argument, and mostly because you want to redirect the narrative and you want to make your wrongdoing excusable. For example, when I said I didn't love you, bringing it back. When I said I didn't love you, I didn't mean it. But as I recall, even watching the show over the course of the 20 seasons, that was never their complaint. Their complaint wasn't, oh, Kody, you said you didn't love me. They didn't start off season 1, episode 1. Kody, you said you didn't love me. The chief problem, the chief complaint that they're working with, and if Kody was actually going to apologize, a better start to me might actually be, when I abandoned you and the kids for a new family, I'm sorry because I was wrong. My bad. That would have been a better start. That would have actually made more sense because that was their complaint. Their complaint was he was abandoning them, leaving them behind, throwing them into the dustbin of history because he had a new family he was focused on and he didn't want to be involved with them. That's why they were angry. That's why they left. It had nothing to do with him saying that he didn't love them. In fact, he didn't say that he didn't love them until after they already left. So we're looking at the reason why you should be apologizing is for them leaving. So it should be predate your little excuse for apologies. But like I said, if you do the I abandoned the family, that's a lot of blame to shoulder. That's a lot of responsibility and accountability to shoulder. What's not so bad is we had an argument, we broke up. I said some mean and nasty shit to my ex. Everybody does that. Oh, everybody does that. So I guess I'm not that bad. That becomes one of the big things in them reframing the argument and redirecting the narrative. The next thing that I noticed them doing repeatedly, both TLC, through editing, Kody and Robyn, they repeat the positions that they have as though it was a proven fact. It's guaranteed everybody accept these things that I'm saying. This leads to argumentum ad nauseum. Since Kody likes speaking foreign languages with verboten, argumentum ad nauseum. That means that's a Latin phrase for argument repeated so much that people don't discuss it anymore, leading to the idea of them not even challenging it. So you just get so tired of hearing the same crap over and over and over again that you just like, you know what? I'm going to just go ahead and let them have it. It's not worth even a conversation or discussion. This is something we've seen more than a few times, more than several times. When Kody gets up and he starts running on, ranting and raving, and the wives start rolling their eyes, and they've even come back. Season 17, Christine even came back and said, there's no point in me sitting here arguing. I could go back and forth with him, but there's no point. What's the point? You know why? Because that's what she's used to. But now he's doing it in front of the camera, so that when he says these statements, she's so tired that she doesn't want to respond to them. These statements go unanswered, and therefore these statements could potentially be seen as the truth because he's making a statement and she's not rebutting or refuting that statement at all. That's another thing that they constantly do. Then, of course, we have the gaslighting. And I know that there's going to be somebody, that's not what gaslighting is. Gaslighting is when you make somebody feel crazy. That would be the term of gaslighting as it relates to an example from a film. However, in colloquial speech, where we're more familiar with the term gaslighting, what it directly refers to is a form of psychological manipulation where the offender makes the victim question their own perspective, perception, memory, or sanity. Perspective, perception, memory, or sanity. In this case, Kody constantly forces us to question whether we're crazy or not, because he's constantly saying the exact opposite thing. For instance, when he repeats the phrase, "You don't know me," this is something that he said not only about Mary, He said this about Mary's friends. He said this about Janelle's friends. He said this about the fan base back in season 18 during the look back. He said, you guys don't know me. You don't know me. You don't understand me. So in other words, you can't trust the things that you see. You can't trust your opinions or your perceptions on the things that you picked up from the show because it's not real. And so it's unstable. So you can't trust that perception. Instead, you have to rely on me and you have to listen to me. So there's a lot of things that are going on. Then we get to the final, what I like to refer to as the final phase. Because already, what have we got so far? From TLC, we have them redirecting our attentions, trying to reframe the argument, reframe the relationships. We have them going back, apologizing, trying to clean the slate, triage the situation, recognize the problem, stabilize the problem, treat the problem, and you're trying to get them to stop the bleeding by getting the wives to stop talking about it. Then you want to retell the story or reshape the story so you can mitigate his wrongdoing or justify his wrongdoing, or just throw enough paint at the wall and say, well, we don't know what's true. Everybody has their own perspective or perception of what happened. Everybody has their own story. Everybody is telling their own truth. So we don't know what's true. And besides, you don't know Kody. So the things that you've seen, you can't really tell, you can't nail down. So why don't we start all over again? And I want to take a side note. Let's take a bit of a side note because I want to do a footnote this part. When Kody says that you don't know me, let's be very clear. When people say you don't know me, that assumes that I have to assume the best of you. Because the truth is, Kody Brown, back when you came onto our screens 15 years ago, season 1, episode 1, I didn't know you then either. But you came on and said, I'm just like you guys. I'm Kody Brown. I have several wives, and this is my wife. How do I know you weren't beating the hell out of your wife? How do I know you weren't abusing your wives? How do I know that you weren't stealing their money then? How do I know that you were a decent person then? Because I didn't know you then. I didn't know you. I just knew it. You could have been a whoremonger. The guy who's just out trying to collect women. Because I didn't know you. But what you assume is because you came out and you were friendly and people liked you back then, that as soon as you would have gotten into trouble or somebody would question polygamy, come on, you guys know me. You guys know I would never do that because of, I've been on the screen after season 5, 6, 7, 8. I've been on the screen for 8 seasons. You guys know me. You know my life. You know that I love my wives. You know that I would do anything for my family because that's what I've been telling you for 8 seasons. You weren't saying I didn't know you then. But now, because we watched 20 seasons of you messing up relationships, of you being selfish, of you potentially stealing money, allegedly, of you doing a lot of shady things with your kids, your family, your relationships, now all of a sudden we don't know you and we can't trust our perception of things that we see. But we were supposed to trust our perception when we thought you were a good guy. When some people thought you were a good guy, I always kind of knew the truth. So it is what it is. But that was just the one thing. Getting back to the final phase. The final phase of where I think we are. We have to recognize that ultimately, bottom line, this is a reality show. And I recognize that, they're going to push whatever storyline that they need to push or sell us on whatever they need to sell us. Some people are going to come off looking much better than they actually are. Some people are going to come off looking much worse than they actually are because that's just the format of the media that you chose. Because again, you chose to be on this show. This isn't like somebody was sneaking filming your ass and you had no idea and you weren't participating, and more to the point, you weren't drawing a check for the last 20 seasons. This is something you chose to do. And when you chose to do it, you knew that they were presenting you a certain way. You didn't push back on it. You didn't say, you know what, if you guys keep putting me out this way, I'm going to quit. You kept doing it. And part of the reason why is because at the end of the day, in a reality show, they aren't simply documenting or chronicling these people's lives. Chronicalizing. Wow. They weren't simply chronicling these people's lives. They are telling a story. Okay? They're telling a story. I recognize that. And I'm not going to say 100% of everything we see on the show is 100% accurate. No, not at all. Because I don't think that that's true. Like, I don't think that you guys were all lovey-dovey in the first episodes, first season, season 1, episode 1. I don't think your family was together. I don't think you guys were a united front. I think you put on a front so that you could sell this story of you guys being a united family. I think you had problems back then. But it has to be explored. Now, when we talk about the story aspect of this, the engine that drives any story or the plot of any story, or at least any good story, is the conflict. The conflict drives the plot of any story. Without conflict, we're just basically watching Robyn's house when they sitting around cooking, baking cookies and having silly ass conversations. Nobody's watching that show. That's not a hit show. That's a dud. Okay. So what drives a reality show is the conflict. That's why everybody's always arguing, fussing, fighting, and acting a fool, because it's driven by the conflict. The antagonist versus the protagonist, or simply put, the hero versus the villain. And in this particular case, the heroes have categorically been Christine, Robyn, or Christine, Mary. Gotcha. Christine, Mary, Janelle. The villains have been Kody and Robyn. Now, in order for you to move Kody and Robyn from being villains to being heroes or even accepted, right? This is regular, ordinary cast members, but you want to move them out of the villain spot. Here's the secret. Somebody's going to have to take their place. Somebody has to be the villain. And when push comes down to shove, you can't have this show of Kody and Robyn being redeemed without somebody being the villain or the bad guy. And to that point, here's that bonus final phase portion. Enter Janelle. Janelle is the one that they're trying to turn into the scapegoat or the sacrificial lamb to become the villain of the show so that they can elevate Robyn and Kody. Why do you say that, James? Why do you say that? Because if you think about it, this isn't even the first time the whole Mary, Janelle was trying to betray Mary and backdoor Mary on the Kody Pass deal. This isn't the first time Kody has thrown Janelle ass under the bus. He dipped a couple times. He dipped her ass in butter and tried to put her in the frying pan a few times. One of which was when he had said on during one of the tell-alls that, you know, they were talking about the money and how the money was being spent and how it was coming up short and how Kody and Robyn had control of the money. And he was asked about it, and he said, whoa. Janelle had control of the money, the family fund. She was the family accountant. She had control of the family fund. In fact, when she left, I noticed that there were some bills that were not getting paid. And by that implication, he had implied that if money is coming up short and we don't have enough money in the family fund, it's not because I was taking the money or misusing the money. Janelle was the one who was controlling the money. Janelle was the one who was writing checks. Janelle was the one who was responsible for paying bills that weren't getting paid. So not only is the money coming up short, but they weren't even doing the things with the money they were supposed to be doing. And that, again, was something that the fan base had always argued on. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is like a big budget reaction video. Sister Wives like a big budget reaction video with seasons and their chapters or episodes. Because that's what the way Kody and Robyn and even TLC are addressing it. The fan base had always talked about all the money that was being wasted, all the money that Robyn and Kody were potentially taking, and where was the money going, and how much money they owed Robyn or Mary and Janelle, this, that, and other. And now all of a sudden, Kody was on his stage saying, no, it was Janelle who was doing all that evil stuff, not me. Then we get to the whole thing where he's saying that, she tried to backstab Mary. Oh, he wants to keep this a secret. He wants, this Mary's going to have to find this out from somebody other than me. I'm not going to be the one to tell her, even though every chance I get on screen, I'm talking about how Janelle tried to backstab Mary and cut her out of the deal. All this lays the foundation. All of this lays the foundation, because I will do an independent, keep an eye out, because I will do an independent video discussing a whole Janelle backstab Mary and the prospects or possibility that was actually going to happen. Storyline. Never going to happen. I'll give you the cliff notes. Never going to happen. Never possibility. But after everything happened, and we look at all the things I'm talking about, all this does is lay the foundation of a illusory truth effect, right? You hear the same thing repeatedly in different ways that it becomes easier for you to process the corrupt or illogical, immoral concept. Thereby, you assume that concept is true. You hear it so much, it's easier for you heard it so much, it's easier for you to like, oh, okay, yeah, recognize it. And because you heard it so much, you just think the shit is true. This goes for my shy, quiet, pretty wife. My shy, quiet, pretty wife. My shy, quiet, pretty wife. That's why he was repeating that shit ad nauseum. I'm innocent. I'm benevolent. I'm trying to be benevolent, and I'm going to meet with them to show my benevolence. Benevolence is charity. I'm a charitable, giving person. And after all this, I did nothing wrong. They're just mad. They need to get over this situation. Oh, well, I went and apologized, and I did all this apology, and they're still talking about it. They're still trying to talk about old stuff. I want to move on. I want them to be happy. They refuse to be happy because they won't let things go, etc., etc., etc. This shit is all a plan. And to me, from my perspective, the same way I would blame Kody, the man in the relationship who was the center hub of this family, because he was the hub. His wives were technically, he was the hub. His wives were the spokes, and the children were the tie, I guess. But everything stemmed from and was directed towards Kody and his responsibility. Kody could have decided from the beginning, and I stand on this shit. Kody could have decided from the very beginning that he wasn't going to give in to Robyn. But he did. Kody could have decided from the very beginning, draw the very stark lines. I'm not going to show preferential treatment. If it's Christine's night, I'm at Christine's house. Mary's house, Mary's night, Mary's house. Janelle's night, Janelle's house. Robyn's night with her kids, I'm there. But I'm not crossing the borders. Nobody's getting special phone calls. Nobody's getting special favors. Nobody's getting special loans. Nobody's getting special housing. Everybody's getting the same thing because I'm treating my wives fairly. That was all on Kody. He's the one who decided. We can sit here all day and talk about how Robyn was whispering in his ear, trying to coerce him to do things, but ultimately, Kody was the one who decided. And like, same, when push comes down to shove, everything that happens on this show is something that TLC is not only allowing, but they're endorsing. They have to not only, because it's not just the thing that Kody walked in there and pitched this to them, and they said, okay, Kody, whatever you want. They had to come to the agreement to do this, and they helped them to plan to do this. So everything that happened, if you are disgusted by the apology tour, that's on TLC too. If you think that Kody's apology tour was damaging, that's on TLC. Because this is a plan by TLC to try to elevate Kody and Robyn so that if they do spinoffs at some point, they make sure that they don't lose any money on the Kody and Robyn spinoff, and they actually can make the characters of Kody and Robyn viable for use later on. Let me know what you guys think. I'm curious what you have to say. If you want to call into the show, I do a Tuesday night call-in show. Thursday, I have SpeakPipe. You can call, leave a message at speakpipe.com/mytakeonreality. leave a minute and a half message or more, like leave a few of them, and let me know what your perspective is. You can always leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified when I upload videos just like this. I got a whole bunch of content coming out explaining and ripping through a lot of this foolishness, and I want you to hear you guys' perspective. That's my take. I'm James, and this has been my take on reality, and I'm out. 'Cause I've been living life right like I